Hi, I'm Lisa Garr. Welcome to the Aware Show's wonderful Money and Manifestation Summit. And this has been such an amazing summit so far because we're talking about everything that has to do with wealth. If it's the meaning of wealth, if it's the how to create infopreneurial wealth, if it's all the way across the board. But what we're talking about with my guest today is truly that wealth does not come from anywhere else, anywhere outside of you whatsoever, unless it starts from within. And once you discover that it starts from within, how do you get it out of you? And that is what the law of emergence is. And Derek Rydall is my guest, and his calming nature and voice and just sheer beautiful confidence about what he's talking about, it just makes it real. It makes it absolutely real, and also provides a safe space for us to tear down some of the myths and the walls that we have either been taught or learned around money. So thank you for joining me, Derek. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. It's truly my honor and pleasure to be here.
You are a very safe person. You reveal deep, deep truths that could otherwise be perceived as, oh my God, I built my life around this myth, and it's not real, and it starts to, for me, it starts to kind of vibrate like wah, wah, everything moves into slow motion, and you go into the tunnel, and you hold the space beautifully for those types of truths to emerge and resonate. So let's start off by talking about awakened wealth. Why did you name it that? What is it?
Well, it's about awakening to the true nature of wealth, and it comes through not theoretical principles and ideas, but really living and having the experience of, like so many people, struggling to achieve and to attain and to, make ends meet and pay the rent and all the things that we try to do, and even struggling to do it with a lot of the techniques we've learned, metaphysical or new age or attraction and all these things. Right. And finding that, in my experience, the more I tried to improve my life and improve my wealth from that place, the worse off I became, the more sense of struggle and frustration I had, and it's kind of like digging yourself out of a hole. The more you dig, the deeper in the hole you get. And ultimately, for me, this whole journey of self-improvement and struggling to achieve and attract and make things improve my life ultimately led me to being broke, and to being broken, and even to being suicidal.
Wow.
And in almost dying twice. We won't have to go in the whole story right now, but unless you want to know a little more.
I mean, it's a great story. It's a very big teaching story, because many people are in that place right now of just fed up with the debt, the brokenness, the not being able to make ends meet, the loss of money. Yeah.
Yeah. And, in a broader sense, it was not just money. What started me, it was just overall improving my life and healing all the things that seemed to have gone wrong in my life. And it ultimately led me to really blaming myself. I thought something must be wrong with me, or I must be damaged or miswired somehow. And that's one of the worst effects, is that we start to think there's something wrong with us.
Right.
And I ended up ultimately, like I said, broke, and I became addicted to drugs and alcohol and almost died of an overdose. And in my deepest hour, I had an opening where I discovered that I touched a part of me that had never been damaged. And so I realized that it didn't need to be fixed. And I also touched a part of me that was already whole and complete. And so it couldn't be improved upon. And I realized that the only thing I improved with all my years of therapy and all these different techniques was my ability to describe what was so wrong with me. I got very good at describing why I was screwed up and why things weren't working.
Right.
But there was no real transformation. And in this darkest hour, I ended up sort of cloistering myself. I was going to become a monk, and the monk life didn't work for me. That's another funny story. I basically tried to become a monk, and I was in a monastery, fasting and retreating and silent. I got so hungry and so freaked out that I broke into the monk's kitchen in the middle of the night and stole food out of their refrigerator. And literally I was like a little creature, coming out of the forest. and opening the refrigerator just enough so the light wouldn't go on and grabbing whatever I could.
Oh my God.
Anyways, I decided that the monk life wasn't for me. So I cloistered myself in my apartment, and I went on this inner journey.
Did you
And
get caught?
I didn't get caught, but the monk's cell was literally like down the hall, and I could see the little light, and they were down there. And then I ate this food. I went back to my room, and I had an out-of-body experience the first time ever, and it was terrifying, and it literally scared me out of the monastery. So I'm pretty sure the monks had a part in that, but that's a whole nother story. They were like, you're not meant to be here in the monastery. Well,
it's a blessing in disguise. But you went to that end.
I went to that extreme. But finally, I had this inner realization that when I discovered that this self, this inner reservoir, this inner source was already complete, it was already filled up, that there was already a divine trust account in my name, and really in all of our names, and that I didn't have to work for it, I didn't have to struggle for it, I didn't have to earn it or strive it, as the Bible says, by the sweat of your brow, that it had already been given to me. And I saw that just as the oak tree is already in the acorn, that the acorn doesn't have to go out and earn and struggle and achieve and attract and become worthy of an oak. The oak is already there, and when the acorn surrenders to the soil and allows the conditions to become ripe and congruent with that seed of potential, the oak naturally emerges. That which is already in it, its destiny of greatness, and everything that it needs to fulfill it. And I saw that this was the same for us, and I coined that ultimately the law of emergence. So it wasn't the law of attraction, though that is a law that operates. Right. It was a higher law that when you are in the law of emergence, you're no longer trying to make anything happen. You are now making something that you've already got welcome. And yeah, go ahead.
That law of attraction, so say you want $10,000 and it says, you vibrate at that frequency of $10,000 and it attracts to you.
Yes.
Why doesn't that work?
So it can work, but like many of you know who have tried for many, I jokingly say back when the law of attraction became really, really big, there was a period of time where more people than ever before in history were trying to manifest bigger houses, more jobs, and more money. And right on the heels of that, we had the greatest housing, job, and financial collapse since the Great Depression.
Interesting, yeah.
So is that an accident? I don't know, but I can tell you that it's when you come from a premise of believing that you don't have it, that something's lacking, missing, broken, that you're inadequate in some way, and now you're going to use some tool to attract or achieve it, you automatically are coming from a false premise, you see. You're already coming from the place that you don't have it, now you're going to attract it. And that's why one of the great masters, Jesus said, when you pray believing that you already have it, that you may receive it. So that wasn't like a metaphysical trick so that you could get it. That was a mystical truth, that you've already got it. And this was my problem. I was doing all these things, but it was from a premise that something was lacking, missing, broken, or inadequate, and now I'm going to use all these things to attract it.
Right.
That's fundamentally false. And when you understand quantum physics, you understand that even cause and effect and attraction, it's more of a linguistic convenience. It's not really what's happening. It's kind of like when we look, and we say the sun rises and sets. Well, we know now that that doesn't actually happen. The sun doesn't rise and set. We're revolving, and we have the appearance of rising and setting. Mm-hmm. And it's also, just more romantic than saying, "Hey, darling, let's go watch the planet revolve." But that's not what's happening, right? And so you're not really attracting something to you when you become aware that you've already got it, and you become congruent with that. So remember, you've already got the seed pattern of infinite potential planted in the soil of your soul with everything it needs to grow. And now you create the right inner conditions, and outer conditions are part of that. You cultivate it so that it's ripe and it's ready. It naturally emerges. But in the world of duality, it looks like things are coming to you. But what's really happening energetically is it's all emerging through you. And this is what the great masters have taught, but it's gotten literalistically interpreted over time. And so that's why so many people struggle. And even when they use the laws of attraction and stuff, at best, they may manifest a bigger paycheck, but they ultimately end up feeling and experiencing being broke at a higher income bracket. Or they might manifest a bigger home, a bigger house, but they feel even less at home. or they might manifest a new relationship, but lo and behold, they're in the same arguments. So they've manipulated materiality, they've manipulated conditions, but they're still fundamentally living in the same story.
Yep. Yep. So it makes perfect sense. And so if it's not inside of you, if it can't emerge from within you, if it's not there in the first place, how do you discover it? Do we all have this inside of us and it just needs to be uncovered?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, we all, our true nature, one of the biggest realizations for me is really discovering, our true nature. Lisa, if, as Rumi said, if you could really see who you really are, you would bow before yourself and worship yourself.
That's beautiful.
And I'm paraphrasing it, but our true nature, we're not merely human beings that are separate from life, from each other, from God, from good, that have to struggle to make something of ourselves. We are unique, individualized expressions of infinity, of infinite power, infinite beauty, infinite abundance, infinite truth. This is what all the masters have taught, and it's true. It's actually true that we are literally unique expressions of all of the power and the brilliance and the abundance of the universe. So we didn't come to this planet, to this experience, to get anything. We came here to release, to unleash, and to give something. In fact, the word human comes from a Sanskrit term of man that means the dispenser of divine gifts. So the first paradigm shift that we have to have, and this is tough because we're conditioned on a daily basis that says we're lacking something, we don't have enough, we judge with the senses, and we look at our bank account and we determine what to believe and what to feel based on what we see and can touch. And we've been trained that way. And what I'm here to tell you, and I know you know this, is that it's fundamentally 180 degrees the other way, that you brought everything with you. And so now the real work is and that's what I call the great reversal, because it's really a great reversal of thinking that the world can't give you anything and the world can't take anything away from you, that you brought it all with you. And when you create the right conditions, which we're going to talk more about today,
yes,
you can literally take 100% control back, where you can start to turn on that inner wealth machine and generate everything that you need, whenever you need it, wherever you need it, regardless of outer conditions. And so you no longer have to be a victim of conditions, of economic contractions, of your boss. And we'll talk about that because one of the biggest errors that we make, it's what I call the big betrayal. The universe is actually set up to fail you or to betray you when you make someone or something outside of you your source of safety, security, support, or supply. And the more you do this work, the more you're activating that truth within you, the more the universe is going to fail you when you make something or someone your source of anything, because it's not true, first of all. And second of all, when you do that, you give away your power.
Yes.
And as you start to give away your power, you start to twist yourself up into a pretzel, so that you start to, monitor what you say, what you do, and who you really are and what you're really here to be and to deliver. It can't come through anymore because you're all twisted up trying to make sure you don't lose.
Right. This is basically, it's turning into the Getting Back Your Power series. It's so true around money, because we give away our seniority and our power to outside circumstances, whether it's a job or a boss or an accountant or whatever it is, and we forget the fact that we're the ones that are responsible for gosh, what's another way? Well, that's what you're talking about here, the 7 core secrets or principles of awakened wealth. So I'm going to direct people towards the website here, which is theawareshow.com/Derek, DEREK. And we're going to scratch the surface here on the seven core principles of awakened wealth. You could go much deeper into this in this program because it's a whole home study program. Derek will explain it in a little bit. The website again is theawareshow.com/Derek. But how did you discover these 7 core principles of awakened wealth?
Yeah, and I call them actually the 7 gifts that give you everything. Because once you know that and maybe I can break something down a little bit more for people. Once you know, first of all, that wealth is not dollars, that wealth is not cars and houses and stocks and bonds, that wealth is spiritual or energetic. And the dollars and all that stuff are really the fruits of a consciousness of wealth. And I use the analogy of like a tree, a fruit tree. You see all the fruit on a tree, but a farmer knows that the fruit isn't the wealth of the tree. And that's why when all the fruit is gone, the farmer doesn't look at its trees and go, well, they're broke, and cut them down.
Right.
The farmer knows they still have as much wealth and as much wealth creating capacity because the farmer is focused more on the roots than on the fruits. Because the farmer or the gardener knows that it's the invisible process that turns the raw soil into the sap and the blossom and the marble and the flower and the fruit of the tree. That's the real wealth. That's that invisible mechanism. So wealth is that invisible mechanism and that invisible substance that comes out of your own being, that no matter what's going on outside, if you are nurturing the roots in the soil of your soul and keeping deep, healthy roots, you'll always have an abundance of fruits. So that's the first thing, is knowing that it's all within you. That's the great reversal, that the real nature of wealth is spiritual. It's not dollars and all that kind of stuff. And then once you get that, the question is, well, now how do I get that out of me? Actually, really quickly, before I share that, I want to, we talk about the big betrayal. And I want to just say, because this is very real to me, I had a very personal experience with this. I was doing a lot of work even after that big opening that I had. And I got to a point where, once again, I was broke. I had more month at the end of my money. And, I was like, the bill collector was at my back door, the landlord was at my front door, and I'm sitting in the middle in my chair like, like, God, why have you forsaken me? And I couldn't understand how I got here again. And in that experience, I remember sitting down in that chair and saying, I'm not getting up from this chair tonight until I know the truth of this, one way or the other. Either it's a bunch of BS or it's real. And I sat in that chair and I sat, and the daylight turned to dusk and the crickets came out for their nightly chorus, and like I wrestled with my demons and my angels, and at some point in the middle of the night, this voice or this energy dropped in, and it said, you made your bank account your God, your source. And that's when the realization came, thou shalt have no other gods. It's like when you make anything outside of your source, it's going to fail you. And as that came through, this peace came over me. That washed away all the fear, all the stress, and I fell asleep. And 3 days later, I got a call from a former agent who said, I know you don't do commercials anymore, but they just called looking for you out of the blue. And I knew it was an answered prayer. And I went on this job, and I booked the commercial. For 2 days' work, I made more money than I'd ever made in a year.
Wow.
More than enough to take care of me. But the key was, I didn't scheme for that. I didn't plan for that. I didn't create a vision board for that. I surrendered to this inner source. I let go of my reliance on my bank account. And in that space, that abundance, what I call that sacred trust account, it was able to show up in my life, but to show up in a way that I couldn't outline, that I couldn't define.
So you're not out there trying to create it and attract yourself to it. You surrendered deep inside of you, and that's where it emerged from.
Yeah, and it really became the beginning of what I call living more from insight than eyesight, where you really learn to lean on. This is what I want people to understand. I know right now some of this might sound theoretical, but there really is an inner storehouse. It really will meet all of your needs, and abundantly, and oftentimes ways you can't imagine. And I mean, I've just seen it over and over and over again for clients who are on the verge of bankruptcy, who in a matter of a month or two, not only were they no longer bankrupt, but they had more work than they knew how to handle.
Wow.
Tens of thousands in debt, erased in a matter of a month. Clients who hadn't sold, realtors who hadn't sold anything in a couple years, 3 houses in a matter of a month in escrow. I mean, like over and over again.
Wow.
This principle, when you unlock it, it literally, there's an old scriptural statement, it makes a way where no way appeared to be. And I just got chills when I just said that. So I want you to just breathe and imagine. Because I know a lot of you right now feel up against a wall. Your back's up against a wall. You're looking in your bank account. The money's not there. The opportunities aren't there. The clients aren't there. I get it. And I know it feels so real. And it feels like so immutable, like you're just stuck.
Right.
And what I want you to know, I'm telling you what I know, and I want you to feel even more than listening to the words I'm speaking, listen to what I'm listening to. That there is a source within you and a power and a substance that is inexhaustible, and it does not care what your obstacles are. It can show up in your life like that. Okay. And it can absolutely dissolve the blocks and reveal a path for you to unfold your abundance and a level of success that is oftentimes, like I said, beyond your imagination. So it doesn't matter how far gone you think your life is, what could be in the way, that's nothing. You know, instead of telling God about your big problems, you start to tell your little problems about your big God, you know, about that big source within you. And you realize how empowered you are. And you can face any recession, any job situation, and you can manifest. So that was the realization I had, and that was what really got me on this path. And then I realized, okay, great. So we know that it's spiritual, it's not material. We know that it's within us. We know that we have to learn to stop putting our power outside of us and start leaning on this something within us. But then the next question comes, well, that's great, Derek, but how? How practically do we start to turn on this inner generator? And that's where the 7 gifts really, so I really wanted to lay this foundation, because that's where the 7 gifts came. And the 7 gifts are basically, I'll say them in brief, then we can touch upon a few of them a little more in depth. But this really allows you to start to generate the flow, because remember, from the emergence model, whatever's missing is what we're not giving. Because life doesn't happen to us, it happens through us. Go ahead, Lisa.
That's one of the gifts, right? Whatever we're missing is what we're not giving.
Well, that's one of the key principles. The gifts are giving forth of your time, your talent, your treasure, giving away of stuff that you really don't need anymore. We'll talk more about that. Giving up of the habits that are no longer congruent with the life you really want to live. Giving in of those places where you've activated a bigger life, but you're still holding on to the smaller life. So giving away, giving forth, giving away, giving up, giving in, giving thanks, which is an attitude of gratitude. The arc of gratitude is that you start off with having nothing to be grateful for, then you learn to find something to be grateful for, then you learn to be grateful for everything, then you learn to be grateful for nothing again, meaning you become a state of gratitude.
Nice.
And because gratitude is the evidence the gift has already been given. So when you are in a state of gratitude, the universe just keeps giving you reasons to be grateful.
That's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. And then finally, for giving to yourself, which is super important, we'll talk about, and then forgiving. So those are the 7 gifts: giving forth, giving away, giving up, giving in, giving thanks, giving to yourself, and forgiving. And one or more of these may be for you, and as we break it down, you might see that. But as you begin to practice these, this gives you the complete ability to start to activate the law of circulation in your life again.
Gets the movement going.
Letting it flow again. Because that's the only problem, folks. Remember, life can't add anything to you. It's all in you. So you have to find a way to release these gifts, release this energy. And as that flows, it will look like more is coming to you. But what's really happened is you found a way to release the obstacles to the natural flow, and you're now letting more and more come out of you. Kind of like a hose, you know, where you're turning up the water, and for some reason it's just dribbling, and there's all these kinks in the hose.
Right, yep.
And you start unkinking those things, it's like all that energy starts coming up. This is the equivalent of what this does to you. And it's why so many people, when they've done this work, even in the first stages of it, they have these rapid breakthroughs, because suddenly it's like they unkink the hose in one area, and all this energy that they've activated through the work they've done just starts flooding their life. So we can get
Now, how is what you're talking about on this Awakened Wealth program, the one that I told you the website, which is theawareshow.com/Derek, D-E-R-E-K, how does what you teach on here get people into that state?
Well, first of all, I walk them through the whole process. You know, we're touching upon it very briefly, but I walk you through step by step how to do this reversal, how to start to reverse this flow, how to turn on that inner power plan, how to get reconnected to that inner trust account. And then I walk you step by step through actually practicing these gifts, this framework, so that you can start unleashing it. And we also do some other really cool things, like we create what I call the money matrix. So you have your monthly money goal, your money miracle, 40-day money miracle goal, your money freedom goal, and your money mastery goal. And so you begin to create an intentionality around what's trying to emerge through you.
Nice.
And we create a plan and a map around it. And then I walk you step by step. And as we do this, you start to discover what's in the way of that. You know, what are the underlying shadows around money, the baggage around money, what I call the hypnotic wealth spells. And we actually end up busting 5 of the core hypnotic wealth spells.
Wow.
Which are these things that we're living under and we don't even realize they're unconsciously sabotaging your ability to really let this abundance flow into your life. You know, one of the most common ones for a lot of us heart-centered, spiritually minded people is that money and spirituality don't mix. And you know, we feel guilt and shame about charging for our work and or charging what we're really worth. And we think we're taking something from other people, and we feel bad, and all that baggage. Anybody, right? Familiar?
Yes, yes, yeah.
It's a huge one, and it's fundamentally and completely false. You know, what was the old saying? You know, money is the root of all evil. And actually, the original saying was the love of money is the root of all evil. But when you understand that money, as I've been describing, is just a symbol of wealth. Well, you know, it's dollar bills one now, but it used to be chickens, right? So, you know, would you say the love of chickens is the root of all evil? You know, I guess there, like I say, there's certain kinds of chicken love that aren't so cool, but that's what it's really saying is when you are attached to the symbol of wealth. When you think the dollar bills are your source, that's where problems ensue. But it's not saying that money or wealth is negative. So we really bust that. That's a big one for a lot of people, and you don't even realize how big it is until you get into it.
Yep.
But if I tell you if you're experiencing a level of wealth and success, that more than likely you're carrying that baggage as a very sensitive or heart-centered person. So we bust all those bits.
Questions coming in here. I mean, this is a lot of material, so let's make it practical for people. How this particular person, Melissa, is saying, I love what I do, but the pay is very low. My boss hasn't given me a raise in more than 5 years. I don't want to leave, but it feels like a closed door. What would Melissa do?
Yeah, so this is a great example of the gifts, the 7 gifts. One of the most powerful gifts, whenever we think someone or something outside of us is our source, like in this case, my boss or this job, and you want to look at what are you making that mean? Like, what is the qualities of that? If you were to get that money, what would that mean for you? Security, validation, approval, confidence, and you realize that those are qualities that they can never give you, and that this situation is arising so that you can begin to give it to yourself, to start activating it within yourself. And that's the giving to yourself gift, which I teach you how to do that. So you start to learn, what would it look like if I truly valued and respected and honored myself? And as you start to ask that question, you start to get very real guidance that starts to bubble up. Well, if I really honored and valued and respected myself, I would have this conversation, or I would start doing this. And you realize that's what's been trying to emerge all along. There's another level of empowerment, another level of authority, another level of creativity that's trying to emerge, and this seeming bad situation has arisen to create the conditions for you to actually awaken, you know, to another level of power. Does that make sense, Lisa?
Absolutely, absolutely. All of these things, it seems like it keeps going back to that point, is getting back the power that you've given away. And maybe that job, since you love it, is great, but you get your wealth from somewhere else because you value yourself that high. So, okay, so my question is, though, how, I mean, I'm going to go back to the how, and it's being asked here a lot. So how does what you're talking about here specifically answer these questions? Can we break that down?
Yeah, so taking a case of something that, the first thing, let's say you wanted to, in this program, you would get clear on what is your monthly money goal. So you'd want to see what do you really need to pay your bills to start paying down your debts. So this is where we get practical.
Okay.
And then you go, and what's the money miracle, 40-day miracle goal? That would mean you'd be earning enough to pay off all of that, to have some buffer, start to experience abundance. And then we would break that down and we'd say, if you were really living that vision, what are the qualities you would be expressing? Who would you be? How would you feel? And then we begin to design a plan through these sacred gifts so that you start generating those feelings, you start stepping into being the person you would be right now. You don't wait for the condition to change, but I show you how, regardless of the condition, you can step into being and feeling as if you are that person now, which starts to create that inner congruence, that inner match to that seed pattern of your vision. Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, your favorite music is playing on a radio right now, but you can't hear it until you're tuned into that frequency. So once you tune in, you don't make the music happen, you make it welcome. It wasn't in the future, it was already playing right where you are. So using these processes, we get you into feeling like you're already there, acting like it's already true. And again, the guidance that comes through as I guide you through this is very specific to you and where you need to grow, where you're stuck and what you need to let go of.
That makes sense.
And so not only more, like when I did this, it's not only that more money came into my life, but more of me was able to show up.
And less stress that way as a result.
Exactly, because you're not trying to make it happen. You're not struggling to get it.
Right.
You're opening up and letting it out. You're already pregnant with it, and you're just feeding it and nurturing it and cultivating it so that you can give birth to that which you already have. And the 7 gifts sometimes seem like, and by the way, on the Money Miracle Goal, what's so cool about that is we have people that, you know, they might say, realize they need $10,000, and then, you know, their husband gets a promotion exactly for that amount, or they say it's $25,000. I mean, these are actual examples. $25,000, and they get a sudden inheritance for exactly that amount. Like, these kind of things happen over and over again, where the people set these money miracle goals and do this work, and it's literally sometimes to the dollar or even to the penny, these things show up. So it's pretty awesome. Like I said, people who have done this work over the last 6 months, they've already manifested millions of dollars, eliminated tens of thousands of dollars in debt, you know, gotten new jobs, all kinds of stuff. So the wealth shows up as whatever you really need.
As a result of the personal transformation that's being made. Now, I have a question for you. So in the example of something I'm personally going through is I'm trying to sell a house. So how do I take my power back from something where I don't know the rules of it? Like, I don't know how to be a realtor. I don't know how to get loans. I don't know those. Like, I'd like to take my power back from the realtor situation, but I don't know how.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And that could also apply to someone who's, you know, got an accountant and they don't know the laws of the accounting, or an attorney, they don't know the laws of you know, whatever it is they're doing. How do we take our power back from something that we don't know it is?
Well, the first thing, again, is we bring it back to, if you were looking at that situation and you imagined if you got the thing you think you want, how would that make you feel? What would that mean for you? You know, so it's like, I would feel peaceful, I would feel, or what is it mean about you that you can't get it? Like, you feel stupid, or you feel out of control, or you feel powerless.
Right.
So we begin to see what is the real quality of your character, of your being, that's actually trying to emerge by means of this crisis. Because again, from the emergence model, everything is conspiring for you to unfold, to evolve to the next stage, always. And even those hard things, especially those hard things, they're trying to create something for you to evolve to the next level. And that's why I say,
raising my hand.
Go.
This is great for a business model. What came to me when you just said that is visionary. What is coming out of me is the visionary in me. I have a vision where it comes to where to live. I have a vision where it comes to my business and what it is I do. And that's what's trying to emerge. And so I got all this judgment that I'm too big of a dreamer, that this isn't possible. Good point. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's certain qualities for you to hold the frequency of that visionary state. You know, it's what I say, you have to say yes to the yes within you. A visionary does not live by eyesight, they live by insight. A visionary says yes to an inner yes that isn't always supported, in fact, often isn't supported by the facts.
Right.
Indiana Jones, he has to step out on that invisible bridge. There's no bridge there, or so it appears. But you have to, it's called the path of God, actually. And so you have to step out on it, and only when you step on it does it begin to appear.
Fully.
I'm getting chills all over again. So I know this is good for people.
Yes.
But then, Lisa, then you have to actually support that yes. So what a lot of people do is they step out and they go, okay, I'm saying yes. And they kind of like, it's like a blind faith. And they're like, God, catch me, you know? And the problem is,
I've done it. That's why I'm laughing. I'm laughing. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The problem is there is no such God. There isn't the power outside of you. It's the more of you that's trying to emerge. You are the light of the world. You are the source of infinite abundance. So it's about growing from, in some of our cases, you know, spiritually children to being spiritual adults, to being creative adults, to realizing that we can really stand on this within us. So certain qualities then have to be established. It might be a deeper confidence in ourselves, or a deeper inner faith, or, you know, a greater sense of trust. Whatever the quality is, it's like you're building the structure to really support that yes that you're stepping out on. And when you do that, it becomes permanent. You integrate it, and you start living at a new level permanently, and you will never ever go back again. So that's what this is creating. It's like, you know, it's like the forest fire that is required for a jack pine to continue to grow. It burns away the glue around the pine cone. It releases the seeds. It burns the old plants and dead wood. It creates opening in the canopy for more light to come in. It does all these things so that that forest and that species can evolve. So these challenges you're in, if you're willing to do the work, it's doing stuff on you, right? And but you can't lean outside of you to try to get the assurance or the support. If you're willing to do the real work, you lean inside and you activate these qualities that we've been talking about until you build this inner sense of, yeah, I can feel this stability within me, and now you own it forever. So that's why Awaken Wealth, that's what I mean. You're not just manipulating outer circumstances. You're not just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Right.
You know? You're really activating and you're co-creating in your own evolution. And if you're a visionary, if you want to really make an impact in the world, you must live this way, because who you are and what you have to bring is unprecedented. And it requires a whole new level of you to emerge and unfold here. And, yeah, go ahead.
Everyone has this dream. I mean, I know exactly, but I'm thinking about people I know. I mean, one particular person wants to go travel on a boat around the world for a year. And it's not just me. I mean, this is what you're talking about. That vision, that dream emerges from within you, and all the blocks and limitations go away. Yes. That's what you're talking about. And that's what, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, that's what you're talking about, because I've listened to the first couple of hours in the offer, and that's what you're talking. So I've just gotten through the delayering part. What you're talking about, the rest is what emerges from within. I got it.
And then you build the structure to support it permanently.
Okay.
And another important thing that you said about what you really desire is, what's so exciting is that your burning desire from the emergence model, it's not a sign of something that's outside of you that you have to go get. It's a clue of what's already inside of you trying to get out. So in fact, the word desire means of the sire, or of the father, of the creative principle, or from the heavens. And so that desire is showing you what, like I said, you've already got it. And now, like a pregnant woman, you're just developing the ripe conditions. You're loving and nurturing this child of your next stage of unfoldment, and you give birth to it. So you're not struggling to try to get it. But I want to just go back for a moment, Lisa, about why the 7 gifts are so important.
Okay.
Because sometimes we don't know exactly what to do to create that inner structure and to get congruent with it. And what happens when you understand these 7 gifts, especially when you go through it, and you will identify which ones are uniquely the ones you need to work on. So for example, giving forth, which is about giving of your time, your talent, and your treasure.
Okay.
What happens is that means of your time, of your service, of your talents, your gifts, or of your treasure, which means literally of your wealth or your substance. And what happens is that normally we are waiting to give our gifts for when situations or conditions seem appropriate. As an example, so like you're a singer, let's say, or you're a coach or whatever, and you're like,
Oh,
well,
if someone pays you for it, blah, blah, blah.
exactly,
Right.
pay me for it, or when I have that certificate on my wall, or when
Right.
I have the right venue or whatever. Instead of understanding that if you just start giving, asking how can I give of that right now, right where I am, if you have to put a concert on for your cat, then you do that. And then the same thing with
Nice.
service. It's like, well, I don't have time to really be of service. I need to just take care of myself.
Oh,
Well, that's often, again, a limited perspective. And when you just begin to practice that, it unlocks this substance within you. Or let's say it's abundance. You know, you want to give to charity, and you're like, I don't have any money to give to charity. I can barely even pay my own bills.
right.
Principle, even if it's just a dime or a quarter, the universe doesn't know quantity, it knows quality. And the way the law of circulation operates is you cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot keep what you don't give. So you have to find ways to start circulating again. So that's just one of the gifts.
Okay.
So that might speak to you, because you might be a person who finds yourself wanting to do those things, but then you're stopping yourself. That's how you know that's the gift for you. Another gift, giving away. You might have a lot of stuff in your life, like a car full of stuff, closets full of stuff, drawers
Yes.
full of stuff. You know, you have that stack of magazines that you don't want to get rid of because you know
The
someday you're going to
clutter. Yeah, the hoarding. Yes.
all
Yeah.
of, and it can be very insane. You might have a bunch of stuffed animals and whatever, right? Or books or clothes. And what I discovered is that if this is an area where you're stuck, all of that is actually psychic energy. And when you go to imagine giving it away, here's what's going to come up. Oh, I can't give away these magazines because I bought them all, and how stupid could I have been, and what a waste of money, and all this stuff starts to come out. Well, guess what? All of that shame and guilt and fear and lack, that's already living in your space. And until you move that, this gives you a practical way to move
Right.
that energy. And I'm telling you, I'm getting chills again. So I'm telling you, I think you should get chills 3 times in a call.
Yeah.
But when you start doing this, people start doing this when that's a gift for them, because there's this next stage of your life that's trying to get in. It can't, because it's blocked by all this stuff, and that stuff represents psychological blocks and emotional blocks.
Oh, this is great. This is so great. I'm just going to go clear everything out of my house. I love it. I just love it.
Well, it's true. The more is trying to get in, but you're holding on to a lot of stuff, and underneath that is a whole, it's like all this
Scarcity,
these
survival thing. Okay,
Exactly.
so great question coming in. I started a business. This is Diane in Florida. I started a business several years ago that didn't take off. To fund it, I lived off credit cards for all those years. I'm now in tremendous debt, and I go inward and I feel overwhelmed. So how can I begin to get out of this mess of debt?
Yeah. So there's a few things here, and we work really deeply on eliminating debt. In fact, one of the gifts is forgiving, and you look at the word forgiving,
Okay.
look at the word forgiving, not forgetting, not for taking, but forgiving. And one of the things happens is whenever we have debt, it's usually a story of unforgiveness in our life. That somewhere along the line, we believe somebody owes us something, or we owe someone. They owe me those years they took from me, they owe me the money they took, they owe me the job, they owe me appreciation, whatever it is, or I owe them. So we have a bunch of you owe me's and I owe you's.
Okay.
And when you have that, you have psychic debt. There's literally an energetic stagnation, and you're saying that you're lacking, and that life is lacking, and that you're in debt. It's actually a psychological debt, and that will often manifest as literally financial debt, as well as other ways that it shows up in your body and other areas of your life. But it's a stagnation of the flow. So I walk you through a process of how to release that, a level of forgiveness that releases that energetic debt, so things can start flowing through your life again. And again, people have eliminated tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And in some cases, even before they jump into the first module, I've gotten emails and stuff saying, oh my God, I owe 10,000 in debt. I just got a call, it's being forgiven. And part of that, which we haven't even talked about why that happens, but there's a whole kind of energetic vortex that's part of this work in this program. And I'm doing what's called quantum healing for you for the first 30 days when you're part of this program. And so a lot of people, once they get into this higher morphic field, this higher frequency, it's like it begins to work on you even before you work on yourself.
That's what I mentioned at the beginning of the show. That energy you have makes it so safe to release. That's what you're talking about. You set that space.
It's safe, and it's a congruent frequency for wholeness and abundance. And when you step into a frequency that's more congruent, that which is not congruent can't live there. And so it becomes kind of like the hose that's got all those kinks in it. Some of those kinks just naturally go and just unravel because the lower frequencies get mitigated and some of the higher frequencies get activated. So, but for this person specifically also, I would say the other really important thing, which we get into, I think it's in module 4 or 5 of the program, is there's some shadows lurking underneath this. So you're probably feeling bad about yourself, like you're stupid or you did this wrong or how could you have gotten yourself in this debt? And so we want to be careful that we don't approach trying to solve this problem as a reaction to that shadow. You know, as a reaction to, look at how I screwed up, now let me solve it. Because then you'll just carry that with you. And that's why so many people go through the same problems. They cycle around in their life over and over because they're coming from one of these shadows. And I show you how to discover where are your wealth shadows. And it might seem contradictory or ironic, but you know, the broke shadow, the stupid shadow, the incompetent shadow, the inadequate shadow, the worthless shadow, these are really common around wealth. We don't try to heal those. We don't try to fix those. Those are parts of you that are crying out to be heard and to be understood and to be integrated again. And it's beyond the scope right now to go into the layers of it, but I can tell you that when you can integrate them and stop trying to fix them and stop, you know, trying to improve them, that not only do they heal, and I've seen lifelong trauma dissolve, but they hold gifts. They hold these deep gifts that you can only access once you embrace those parts of you that you've been running from most of your life. The gift of the gift inside the unworthiness, the gift inside the incompetent, the gift inside that. It's profound. So
why
again,
you were feeling unworthy in the first place. What is that usually? What is the gift inside of that? That the trauma might have come from early childhood and you can release it? Is that what you mean the gift is?
Yeah, well, there's a couple levels to it. You know, what happens is some event happens and we're acting a certain way. Maybe we're just in our authentic creative expression and we just are wanting what we want and we're just demanding it and we're just in our power, and that's normal and natural and healthy. And then we get a message like, you're so selfish. What about all those starving kids in Africa, you know, or something? And
all about you,
feel shame, and all of a sudden that natural, authentic part of you gets just, it realizes for survival, I can't express this. Selfishness is bad. That becomes a shadow of selfishness. Then you start to develop a coping mechanism to survive, or a mask. You start to become more giving, more generous. You become the good boy, the good girl.
Giving,
Right? Now, the gift of it is that you actually develop those qualities. You become really giving, really nice, really heart-centered. It might even be what drove you on your spiritual journey. But you become imbalanced. So then what happens at a certain point, you're saying yes when you really mean no. And you say no to yourself when you really want to say yes.
That's what happens.
You're resentful. Then you're bitter. Then you have unforgiveness. Then you have debt. Then you can't move the energy, and now you're stuck, resentful, pissed off,
and boundaryless.
You've done all these good things, and it's not working for you.
Yeah, that's how it all gets blurred.
Yeah, and so we unlock that piece, and for some people it's that simple. They start to embrace their selfish shadow. They start to embrace, and all of a sudden it's like, whew, all that energy, the universe can finally flow through you again.
Beautiful.
Because you're giving to yourself. And
this is making so much sense about this flow and emergence coming from within you. It's not necessarily the get-rich-quick scheme. It's never going to be about that. It's always going to be the allowingness that you have inside of yourself in order for wealth to flow.
Yeah.
Someone was asking specifically about the 30 days. What are you doing for the 30 days? Is it you said holding an energy or something? I didn't get that.
Yeah, well, there's a few things that we're doing in this program. I mean, basically, I've designed it after 2 decades of working with people from around the world in terms of what are the elements that create that sacred mandala, that sacred container where real transformation can happen. Like,
Okay.
where do people get off? Where do people fall off track? Where do they fall off the path? Where does it end up becoming more shelf-help instead of real self-help?
That's good.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and so like as I've identified that, I've plugged in all those leaks in this pressure cooker, so to speak, this divine. And so one of the things we do is you get, not only do you get obviously the program itself, the modules, the content, but you also get to be part of our private mastermind group, Awaken Wealth mastermind group, where you get additional support from the group and from us.
Nice.
People need that structure. You also get to be, I'm going to add in there, you get to be part of my private group coaching. So you'll get, you can raise your hand and have a chance to get personal support from me, where, you know, people pay thousands of dollars a month for something like that, but you can get that work where I can help people have lifelong, like, breakthroughs, not in months, but in minutes. So
Wow.
that's that. And also the energy vortex of that is very, very high. Then you're also going to get the quantum healing, where I'm actually going to be doing this energetic work for you on a daily basis for the first 30 days. If you're sensitive, you will feel it. You will feel the shift. People report, oh my God, I can see this light and energy, and were you just doing this work? Because all of a sudden, you know, and whether you feel it or not, it still works. But I'm basically going into the field without giving all the details and, you know, scientific quantum physics. I'm going into the field energetically. In the field, we're already connected. So there's this kind of like a central switching, you know, and your name and your frequency is like your own spiritual IP address. And
Nice.
so I'm going into the field and I'm connecting to that. And as I'm clearing away the limiting frequencies, the limiting beliefs, the universal beliefs, the hypnotic spells, I'm doing a lot of that work clearing, you experience the effect of that. You know, you've heard maybe non-local healing, things like that.
Right.
It's basically that. And you experience the effect of that because in the field, there's not a separate you and me. There's just different facets of this one jewel, and we're all facets of the same exact, you know, field. So I'm going in there, I'm acting in proxy for you to do some of this clearing for you.
Very powerful, very powerful. Yes, because you have experience at this, and you know what this quantum field is. You've immersed yourself in it, and you study it. And the more you practice anything, the stronger that it gets. Yes. So if you go into that field and you bring us energetically into it, it assists us on the other side of healing to maybe make our process a little bit faster, a little.
Totally.
You know, just you get the whole message faster. Now, once again, I want to mention the website, which is theawareshow.com/Derek, DEREK. And I also want to mention that this is an enormous value. If you were to see this whole package on Derek's website, it's almost $2,000. If you went right there, right now, you would see the full price point. What is it, $19.97? And here only on this event, and this is very special that Derek is doing this event, sales kind of event for us, it is $147, which is huge. That is a huge value, and it is enormous. It's a big course. It's filled with, I mean, many, many, many hours worth of material and content, but practical. And it's set in this tone, this energy. And how often do we ever get a chance to go through these, you know, what are your monthly goals? What are your get-by goals? And here's your monthly, and then here's your super, I mean, you keep going exponentially, and then you set it in this energy, and then you get rid of the issues that are blocking you so that that emergence can come in effortlessly. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, it's. I think that's why this program, you know, has been so successful in terms of the actual results. More testimonials and results than I've ever seen in any other program we've done. Is I think it's the combination of, it's a deep inner game. You know, you're really getting clear on what you really believe and what's really holding you back, and what your vision of wealth and abundance and success really is. And that's very important. But then we actually also really look at the numbers. We really get
Right.
practical. And I can tell you that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks, because a lot of us heart-centered people, we do what's called a spiritual bypass, where, we're all, ascended masters, we want to go to the light and it's all beautiful. But the problem is that we have to not only be an ascended master, we have to also learn how to descend. It's like if you look at the way a plant grows, it doesn't just, the shoots don't just go to the light. The roots have to go into the dark. And so when we look at the numbers and our actual monthly budgets and what things are really costing us and what we really want to create and what that will really cost, now all of a sudden we experience the fear and the doubt and the beliefs that, I want you to understand, have always been there, but they've been able to unconsciously operate like gophers in the dark, down, and we do like a spiritual roto-rooter so that you can see what's really been stealing your energy, stealing your life force, stealing your power. And we begin to uncover all of that in a very safe and very high frequency environment, so that even as it's being uncovered and it's coming up, it's being dissolved, it's being transmuted. There's so much love and support. So it's not like you're all alone in the dark. So I think the balance of those, Lisa, that a lot of people do all this great work, but they're lopsided. And when those two come together, which I walk you through also, I know it sounds like a lot of stuff, and I don't want people to feel overwhelmed. It's very step by step. I walk you through it. Okay, now we're going to create this piece. Now we're going to create this piece. And meanwhile, like you were saying, I'm holding the space energetically that supports you, and you start to see the results, and then you experience momentum, then you start having breakthroughs, and then you're collaborating with other people in the group, and you're hearing about their breakthroughs, and it just becomes this synergistic experience that really accelerates what begins to unfold for you.
And I can understand why you offer it, it's an enormous package, and to actually go into the details of your finances is so huge, because we do not tend to look at that. And then you get rid of the hypnotic spells around all of those old pictures around money and so forth. Now, I do want to mention here that this is currently being offered at $19.97 on Derek's website. And here, just for our beautiful Aware Show audience, and because you're here right now, it's $147 for you, because it's the magic of this. This is what you resonate with. You're here listening and watching this show for a reason.
Yes.
And that's exactly what this is here for you, is to be able to dive into something like this and really unpack. If you want to be done with the frustration and the overwhelm and the debt and the stress and the weight on your shoulders of these financial issues, you got to do the work. And this is what that is. And I'm looking forward to diving back into it, because I just got through the first 2 modules, and I took so many notes, and I wanted to talk with you because it's I picked up on that energy that you're talking about. Now I know that there's an energetic frequency that you hold that allows it to be so beautiful and so safe, and to really just allow us to release. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And even the audios themselves are what I call high frequency encoded, so that some people do describe just beginning to listen, even when they're playing in the background. I've had multiple testimonials where they just turn on, they're listening to the program and feeling this energy, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and it's somebody saying, I just was thinking about you, and I know I owe you this money, and all of a sudden, or suddenly their neighbor knocks on the door, and they're like, hi, and they're like, I just felt like we have this thing going on. I really want to talk. Like these are real examples that people have had.
Nice.
So because you're suddenly in this field, but not only that, it affects your family. Like people have had where like their kids get affected by it, and their daughter suddenly has debts that are repaid to her.
Wow.
Or, like I said, the husband suddenly has new opportunities show up in his life, or the wife, or whatever. So because you're
Cool.
becoming part of a field. And once you're in that field, everybody in your life now becomes part of that field.
Yep.
So we're not just changing your life, we're changing a legacy. We're changing a lineage. We're changing a whole frequency.
Thank you.
And I want to say one other thing, Lisa, because I know a lot of you people, maybe all you can think about right now is I just want to pay my rent. I just want to have enough money to maybe save up for my kids' college, or, whatever that might be. And that's very important. And we definitely, that happens. But it's also, I know a lot of you have a bigger reason to be here. And you're not here to merely just get by and pay your rent, that you have gifts to give, that you have a vision to live, that you have a bigger purpose, and that's why you're part of a show like this.
Yes.
And not just some other show that's just about money. That you have gifts to give, and what I like to say is it's very hard to be a light in the world when you can't pay your light bill. And so this is about, really, for me, why it's so important. It's not just about helping you make more money. It's about helping you to get off that treadmill where money issues are siphoning off all your energy.
Yes.
And like I like to say, if so many of the people in the world that have done such great things and changed our lives in so many ways, if they were struggling so much to make ends meet that they had to work all these other jobs, they wouldn't have any energy to do the discovery, the invention, write that book, whatever. So my bigger mission is I want to set you free to really live the purpose for which you were born. And model that for your family and for your clients, because then we really change things in a very, very powerful way, and we get a momentum going where
I'm excited.
Isn't that cool, right?
It sounds awesome. Yes, it does. I love the part about your healing the family issues as well, indirectly, because that pain can definitely affect you as well, and you could get pulled down by other people's money problems that are close to you, family, husbands, relatives. So
one of the number one causes of divorce is money issues.
Of course, right? It's that lack of communication. So the mastermind, people get to actually talk with you, right? They get to communicate with you in the mastermind. So that's also included here, right?
That's right. Yeah, they get to be in the mastermind. They get to be in the group calls where they get the chance to raise their hand, ask specific questions, and I get to do what it's a particular kind of coaching I do, a rapid acceleration coaching with them, where in a matter of minutes they can literally uncover their shadows, literally have lifetime issues become clarified, and that's not an exaggeration. That's actually what happens in these groups. So that's why I say it doesn't take months, it takes minutes. So you get to have that possibility if that's something you're interested in as well.
How long has it taken for people to unlock their stuff around money and actually manifest results?
Well, like I said, and they can see on the page a lot of testimonials there. But it's, averages people, like I said, some people have breakthroughs right away. Like literally they sign up and they're in this field and all of a sudden.
Cool.
I got one the other day. It was like, I just signed up. I felt all this energy and I got this call the next day and $10,000 in debts being forgiven.
Great.
And that was just once. I go, okay, that's a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. But it's not once. It's a lot of stuff, all those kind of things. So a lot of people, we create the 40-day money miracle goal, and a lot of people reported having achieved it before the 40 days were up.
Great.
So that gives you a marker.
Great.
But obviously I can never guarantee what's going to happen because I don't know who I'm talking to right now specifically, and what your unique issue is, or what's really important for your soul and your fulfillment in terms of what's emerging. So like I said, it shows up different for different people. Some people get a new job. Some people discover their purpose finally. Some people launch their business finally. Some people have a relationship with their husband. Some people have gone from bankruptcy to, like I said, a lot of work, more work. Their problem now is how to manage all the work.
Some people sell their houses.
People have, had that multiple times. I started to wonder, should I make this like a real estate thing? Because we had a lot of realtors where they had not sold anything for a couple of years, and all of a sudden they had 3 houses in escrow, and this has happened multiple times for realtors. So not only they sold their own house, this happened to a client recently, their house that had sold like really fast, and then they have 2 houses of their own in escrow. Like I thought, what is it about real estate? It's kind of funny.
Huge.
I think what it is that homes, the house and the home is a deeply significant archetype. And so there's a lot of, it's really about something so much more, and that's probably why there's a lot of round homes. People that almost lost their home suddenly were able to keep it, stuff like that. So I don't know.
That's got to feel good. That has got to feel good. Yes, it does. And I love you have it so well covered here. I mean, we come in to the energy, to the frequency where it's supported and held at a very, very high vibration. The work gets done on an energetic level, emotional and psychological level, as well as the practical level of the finances. Very key. And then it gets healed where you start to lift out and the trueness emerges. It's not a one-time fixes all. This is a, well, it's a permanent solution. This is a permanent solution around money. It's not.
It's a way of life. It's a new way of seeing yourself in relation to money and to wealth and to abundance, and really awakening to the truth that you are the source, that you are the source of everything. And that's the other big reason why this is so important to me, because it doesn't just, if you look at 99% of all the conflicts in your life and in the world, it's because people believe something or someone outside of them is their source, and they're willing to fight or kill or die or lie or cheat or steal or just suffer to get what they think somebody else has of theirs, or to not lose what they think somebody else can take away. And so when you get that you're the source of and this really initiates you into that,
Awesome. I mean, we've run out of time, but I have one quick question for you. Do you find that people, once they get this, they're eventually no longer in the community because they've kind of graduated out of it? They get what they need, and they're so confident and secure with that which emerges from within that they're set. Do you find that?
Well, what I've actually found, I found a little bit the opposite. People get so much results that they don't want to leave the community. And they make friends, and they build partnerships, and they find new resources, and they're like, no, we don't want to go. Don't close this, but it's not because they're dependent or they're leaning on other people, because if they start to become dependent, very quickly they experience the repercussions of that, and they learn that they get a chance to grow a little more. But it's like an ongoing opportunity to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep having experiences, to keep supporting and being supported.
Nice. Thank you so much, Derek. And once again, the website to find all of this is at theawareshow.com/Derek, DEREK. And I'm very clear on what it is and how this offer can impact your life irreversibly. It can absolutely make such a difference, not just in the area of finances, but in every area of your life. And that's what it's all about. So thank you, Derek, so much for explaining this so clearly and being the beautiful soul that you are. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. My honor. And just know that I'm with you all, whatever you decide, that you're in my heart, you're in my prayers, and I look forward to getting a chance to play with you a little more deeply in this realm.
Thanks, Derek. All right. And thank you for listening, and thank you for this amazing offer. I mean, for this, it's a huge discount, and I would just grab this because it goes back to Derek's website as it is full price. This is a limited amount of time offer. It can't stay up like this because it exists for the full price on Derek's website. So it's very, very special for our audience. Go ahead and get this right now, and I invite you to always stay aware. Thanks.